Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Microsoft USA General Manager and Chief Marketing Officer, Grad Conn.
Yeah, I love this. Oh man, smoke, lights, pile of drunk people in an audience. It's going to be a lot of fun. I got to say, just before I get going, Nashville has been awesome. And I want to thank the Sprinklr team, the Sprinklr production team, the Sprinklr event team. They've done an amazing job. It's been really interesting for me. So at Microsoft, we have a lot of events as well, especially really, really big events. And so cost is always an issue. And so we have tended to always try to find the cheapest way to run an event. And so if you want to go to a Microsoft event, they're typically in the least desirable place you can imagine. So Orlando in July. I'm not kidding. Atlanta in July. And this year they decided to up the ante. No more Atlanta. It's only 105 in July there. Orlando, it was like 100. Humidity was pretty high, but it was only 100. No, we're going to Vegas in July this year. Yeah. 119 degrees. See how that works out, right? Anyway, this is just beautiful, and it's been great to be here. So I'm going to sort of kind of go through some stuff about marketing, talk about some stuff in sort of the social area. I am going to ask for some questions from the audience right up front. So the folks that are sleeping in these front benches here, you're going to have to wake up, and we're going to have a few questions, just so I kind of get a sense of where you want me to go. I really want to focus on digital transformation. We were Sprinklr's first customer, and it has had a massively transformative effect on us. So I want to go through that in detail. So a little bit about me, my favorite topic. And so this is me actually in my DeLorean in St. Patrick's Day Parade last year. The kind of theme of this speech is marketing to the future, because I like to think about the past and how it informs the future. And a lot of what we're doing actually leverages things from the past as we go into the future and as we go into a lot of change. So, so that's, hopefully you get that theme out of this. My name's a little unusual, Grad Conn. Once you get it, it's not super complicated. Sometimes people ask me, is it like short for something or whatever? It's actually an interesting kind of story. We'll see in a second, I guess. I think it's an interesting story. So my parents could not agree on anything. And they actually brought me home from the hospital. I guess they agreed on the part where I got made. But right, there was a moment of agreement at least. But they brought me home from the hospital without a name. And they ended up sort of deciding to compromise. And so Grad is my mother's maiden name. And Conn, of course, is my father's maiden name. Scattered laughter. Okay, I got it. Okay, I can see who's awake in here. That's good. Thank you very much. And Grad's Polish, so it kind of means city, Leningrad, Stalingrad, which is sometimes a nickname I get. And then Conn, of course, is Irish, which means, raving drunk. Well, that's what I heard. Family legend. Anyway, so let's go back to the future. Let's go marketing the future. Let's sort of see what we're going to talk about today. A little bit about my background. So I actually started my career at Procter & Gamble. So I'm a traditionally trained packaged goods marketer. And a lot of questions people have in this time of marketing transformation is, what does my team need to look like? Who needs to be on my team? What kind of skills do they need to have? And having a basis in basic marketing fundamentals is important. But then I spent a dozen years doing startups with a strong focus in engineering, and that actually led me into Microsoft research. So I actually have a very sort of technical background and a very sort of marketing background. And I think that's been really helpful for me as I sort of come into this sort of time. And it really is like the time we're in right now is it's a real time of change. We live in a time of stimulus response. And do you know what I mean when I say that? Classically in marketing, what we've done is we've told people what we want them to think. Right? My brand is better. We fly the friendly skies. All right. Too soon? I don't think so. I'm just getting going on that one. The whole presentation's basically about that, so buckle up, so to speak. Don't buckle up, actually. That makes it harder to pull out of the seat. Hurts. Oh man, the hashtag United mottos. Oh my God, it's so funny. Okay, so what you're actually looking at is you're looking at people telling people what to think, because we had no way of knowing what people thought in return. And so basically what we had is we had this system where people were sort of amplifying a message. Think this about me, and I'm going to keep saying it until you repeat it back to me, which is okay. It's not terrible. It's not a great model, though. It's not really the way we talk to each other. Stimulus response is the way we have conversations with each other. It's kind of like a little bit of what we're doing right now. That's why I'm kind of trying to just see what you all think. I'm going to ask some questions. We're going to try to go back and forth. There's a guy over there in a white shirt on his computer, not even looking at me. I'm going after you, baby. Okay, so I can see you, I can actually see all of you. Okay. So who does a really good job of stimulus response? Comedians. Comedians actually have a message, right? In fact, every comedian has the same message. Every comedian has one message, which is they want you to think that they're funny. That's it. I am funny is their message. Now, if a comedian was a marketer, the comedian would come on the stage and they would say, I'm funny. That's the message. And then they repeat it. I'm funny. I'm funny. I get some frequency on this, right? Get some frequency. I'm going to do some other, I'll put it on the board behind me. I'll get a testimonial. Grad's funny. I'll have sort of flyers on the tables, multi-channel, right? I'm going to hit you. I'm going to do geo-targeting. Grad is funny. And what are you going to think at the end of that? You're going to think, someone's going to say, what was it like? And they're like, well, he said he was funny. You see this, right? Okay. For a second, I thought he had a weapon, so I wasn't. But wow, talk about not working. But what does a comedian actually do? A comedian doesn't do that, obviously. A comedian's not a marketer. A comedian goes on the stage and they tell a joke. And the joke is a stimulus. And when you hear the joke, you respond by laughing. And what do you think? You think to yourself, wow, she's really funny. You've made that conclusion on your own. The power of a conclusion that you make on your own is 1,000 times more powerful than a conclusion that someone tells you to believe. In fact, the more that someone tells you to believe something, like for example, people that say, trust me. When someone says, trust me to you, what do you think? Here comes a whopper. All right? This is a liar. Because they're telling me to trust them. Guards up. Right? So this is, for me, a very interesting model. And what's happened is that we have sort of shifted from a mass broadcast model into the stimulus response model without a lot of companies necessarily realizing that that has happened. And what you're seeing is a lot of confirmation bias, getting a piece of stimulus that causes people to respond and respond heavily. United is interesting. United's response does not come from a place where everyone thought United was the most amazing company in the world. What happened is there's confirmation bias and suspicion that maybe they don't care about me that much, and then a stimulus that triggered a response. Same thing with Pepsi. There was already an underlying bias. And I'm totally not going to go into the White House briefing room, but there's an underlying bias that causes the reactions that you see. Sometimes fair, sometimes not fair, but it's that underlying bias. And we have to think about that, and the only way for us to understand that is to really understand people. At P&G, we did these things called laundry tours. So we would actually go in, watch people do their laundry. And we learned more from watching people do their laundry, sometimes things we didn't want to know, but we learned more from people doing their laundry than we did from just sitting around and kind of sort of postulating on our own. You have to get in touch with people. And what's great about Sprinklr, what's great about the world we live in today, is finally we're in a mass era where we have the ability to hear people's actual voices. So that's kind of I'll sort of hit that theme again. This is a little bit of how to get a hold of me. I am Grad Conn everywhere. So pick your favorite social platform, and if you've got one like Kik that you want me to be on, I'll jump on there as well. But feel free to interact with me directly this way. One thing I don't own is gradconn.com. So if you do go to gradconn.com, this is not me, okay? This is not me. And I just want to just be clear. I really want to make sure that you are not confused if you do go to this. It does say Grad Conn offer tiny connector solutions. I just want to say, I do not offer tiny connector solutions. You can take that any way you want. I'm just saying I don't offer that, okay? These guys have been trying to steal my Twitter handle for 10 years. All right. I'm going to take a few questions right now, so you got a little sense of where I'm going with this. And we've got a couple runners in the audience. Runners, put your hand up. Perfect. There's a question there.
Close to my face. Too close. So the question that I get asked recently, and I'll pose to you too, is that how is your organization or your clients that you're helping taking data and opposing legacy thinking with senior leadership?
Excellent question. I love that question. I'll definitely touch on that. Okay? How do you get the dinosaurs to evolve? And I will say that potentially it's the way the dinosaurs did evolve. I gotta say something right now. I love you guys. You're so awesome. I'm like not even like fully completing the sentence, and you're totally getting where I'm going. This is great. This is like just being with friends. Any other questions? Someone in a red jacket over there.
As you so well said, in terms of what marketing has been, and where do you see marketing? Where do you see the role of a CMO within the next couple of years? Because I got to tell you, it just seems so challenging. Where in so many different places, we play a role in the marketing, the branding, the consumer experience, the sales to a certain extent. Where do you see us in the next 2-3 years, or maybe even earlier?
Okay, great. That's a great question. I mean, for most CMOs fired, that's the stat, 18 months. But I just wanted to put out 6 years so far, so hang it in there. Oh, wait a second. I just got a text. Okay. All right, so that's great foundational stuff. So let me kind of keep going. So I go to Orlando a lot to go to Disney World just to take a break. The last time I went to take a break was about 2 weeks ago. Just went with my older daughter. Just went to Orlando to hang out. I'm actually sitting in the bar at the Swan Hotel, and I hear this hand hits me on the back, and kind of grabs me, right? And almost like a bear hug, right? I'm like, what the? It's Carlos. Like, the guy's following me everywhere. Anyway, so this is me sitting on the beach. And someone asked the question a minute ago about how do you talk to the senior management about digital transformation. The problem with digital transformation is that for a long time, this is what, for senior people particularly, this is what life in a company feels like. You're just kind of sitting on the beach, having a good time. Everything seems pretty good. The beach, people talk about the beach is changing, but it doesn't seem to be changing that much. The reality is that for almost all of us, our beach is inside an hourglass. And for a long time, and you're thinking about that beach, for a long time, that top level feels fine. And then suddenly you hit the neck. And you're seeing industries do that now. They hit the neck of the hourglass. And my thinking is that for senior management, probably they have to hit the neck of the hourglass before they'll change. Because you know what? It's super fun sitting on the beach. And so I think this idea that you have to convince senior management to want to do transformation, to me, I'm very, very, very lucky in that I'm in a company that is constantly transforming, and there's no convincing senior management we need to do it. My advice is that if you think you're in an industry or in a company that needs to transform, and senior management is not transforming, leave that company. Or wait until they hit the hourglass. I think that's the reality of it. Okay, so I'm going to go a little bit into some more detailed stuff here. I'm going to talk a little bit about the marketing industry. It's a huge industry. It's $2.5 trillion. What makes the marketing industry really different from other industries is that 51% of all the spending is in labor. Typically, it's about 20%. And so those labor processes are primed to be replaced by AI. You all heard me when I said that? So what does that mean? You want to be running those machines, not being replaced by those machines. Because this is the target area where people are going to go after the money. It's $1.25 trillion. when someone's questioning me, what are CMOs worried about? How's the CMO job going to change? 10 years ago, Deloitte does a survey. And they found in the survey that CMOs would say branding and awareness would be what they're responsible for. Today, 2/3 of CMOs are responsible for revenue. It's a primary responsibility, and that's going to just get more. So as a primary responsibility for revenue, I've got to have the levers to be able to drive that. Even in B2B. In B2B space, you've got social driving 75% of the decisions. You've got to be on the platforms, you've got to be connected, and you've got to be driving revenue. How do you do that? If you don't control all the levers, it's really, really hard. The CMO's job's getting even harder because most CMOs are not trained in technology, yet they're making a lot of technology decisions. This is a pretty interesting chart. More than half the time, and in some areas, they're the primary decision maker, or they're in partnership with the CIO. Make it worse, there are more than 4,000, this was last year, so now there are more than 4,000 marketing point solutions. This is the Chief MarTech study. It's really worthwhile reading Scott Brinker's blog. 4,000 logos. These are marketing point solutions. Here's the stacks that come out of that. These are real stacks. Got these off the web. Real stacks. Look at this stuff. All this stuff's trying to connect together. That's what Rajiv was talking about yesterday. This is really crazy. Look at this one. People who built this are either insane or they've killed themselves. Okay? This is really hard. And then we make it even more difficult as an industry because we're natural bullshit generators. That's kind of our thing, right? So, we make up stuff. We've got all sorts of books. There's a book just came out called The Cuttlefish Marketer. Now, I don't exactly know what a cuttlefish is, but if that's a picture of a cuttlefish, that is terrifying. And there's so many, right? We've got so many things that we kind of make up all this stuff. Chaos monkeys, and I love do-it marketing. I don't know what that means, but it sounds interesting. Get scrappy. There's all this stuff that we constantly are inventing stuff. If you're the author of one of these books, my apologies. But I don't think so. I tried it. And then, we don't help ourselves even in the agency business, right? So agencies are always making up logos, making up lines. Like, it's a very confusing space. And for CMOs, they're like, I'm responsible for revenue now. It's to your question. And how am I going to get there? I've got all this technology. I've got all this confusion. I'm told to, be a cuttlefish, whatever that means. My agencies have got a million different ways of talking about stuff. What am I going to do, right? This is how most CMOs feel. I love that picture. It's great. They're confused. So, what are we going to do about that? Now, the first thing I'll say is that there's something to be said for where you are in the stage of an industry. And one thing I sort of coach people on is, hey, don't be too freaked out. It's not unnatural for the early stage of an industry to feel like this, to feel like a lot of confusion, to feel a lot of variety, a lot of applications. And there's a great book called My Years at General Motors. It's by Alfred P. Sloan. It's actually Bill Gates' favorite book. And the reason it's Bill Gates' favorite book is it's basically all about the evolution of industries and talks about vertical and horizontal integration points. And really you can see kind of analogies for industry evolution in this book. Worthwhile reading if you get a chance. It's a good summer read. It's written kind of as a biography. And what he does, he talks about the evolution of the car industry. And what's fascinating is there are hundreds of car manufacturers at one point. Just like we have thousands of marketing point solutions, there were hundreds of car manufacturers. You can see some of them just sort of flowing by here. Cord and the Hupmobile, LaSalle, Spencer Tracy and the DeSoto. And what happened, right? Well, it coalesced over time. And that's what's going to be happening. So for a CMO today, you've got to really be thinking about what are you going to coalesce around. We're obviously making a big bet on Sprinklr. Carlos, is that good? Yeah, okay. I think you said $20, right?
40.
Okay. but that is what's going to happen. And this idea that you're creating a massive stack, I think is fundamentally flawed. The fact that there's a Stacky Awards, you guys are familiar with this? The Stacky Awards are at the MarTech conference. People get an award for how big their stack is. That's the best sign of industry dysfunction I've ever seen. There is a bit of a sort of quick history lesson here. In the early days of the advertising industry, it was basically direct marketing. So we would publish split runs. You'd be a coupon, customer would send the coupons back. We could see which part of the split run was working. It was actually a pretty good stimulus response model. You could see how people responded to the stimuli you sent out. Then we entered the mass marketing era. And the mass marketing era was actually kind of cool because we could reach a lot more people more quickly, so mass persuasion became a science, but the stimulus did not return. And a lot of us were trained in the mass era. And this is the challenge, I think, with some of the more senior CMOs, is this is how they grew up. Stimulus is not how they think. Today, we live in a mass direct era, which is we have the benefits of mass, and we have the benefits of direct. So you can see it kind of coming both ways. And that is not to be underestimated. Make sure that you're making a point in your mind that you're living in an amazing time as a marketer. This is the most incredible time. It's like being in the industry when TV was invented. Very, very, very cool time for us to be alive, and we're very lucky to be at this point of history. And just, if you want to learn more, this will be the academic portion of the presentation. There are some really great books in each era. So these are books I would recommend you read in the direct era, Claude Hopkins' book especially. In the mass era, this Bill Bernbach book by Bob Levinson is amazing. I actually cried when I read it, although that could be me. That could be me. But it's a great book. And then in the mass direct era, probably the book I'd recommend the most is a book called The Idea Writers. It's an incredible way of looking at both how history is informing storytelling. Fantastic book. So just, those are all good summer reading suggestions. All right, so let's kind of, what am I doing about it? Right, so where am I going? And so for me, it's, you got to simplify this. You can't just have like a million things in a stack, and hopefully with all the logins and the databases and the UIs, people figure it out. This is the basic customer lifecycle that we're dealing with, right? Pretty simple, going from anonymous, interest, evaluation, buy, and then you're a fan. And it's kind of a continuous process. And at any one point in time, I might be evaluating one product, buying another, and like investigating one, all from the same company. And we have a bit of a tendency to treat each of those things as separate stages, and the person in each stage is unique. But remember that your current customer is going to be your next customer, right? So you want to keep the current customers to be fans. And so the way that I sort of how the systems of nurture work under here is that we have effectively classes of software in each of those stages. But you have advertising automation, lots of tools in there, marketing automation, a little bit less new, so marketing automation is probably about 10 years old, some great tools there. Sales automation, relatively mature, really two players in that space. Commerce services, there's lots of those. And then customer service software, a relatively mature category. In fact, so mature, it's being reinvented again, because a lot of that stuff was built in the 80s and 90s. And underlying all that is project management and BI reporting. This is my stack. So to the CMO question, how am I thinking about it? This is my stack. The stack doesn't start with a bunch of applications that you're putting together. The stack starts with what you're trying to do with the customer. And this will sound crazy, but it took me 5 years to figure this out. Like, I myself can't believe how stupid I must be to take 5 years to figure this out. But you probably haven't seen this diagram before, unless you've seen me speak before. But this is relatively unique, because it's based on the way you need to nurture people through the system. And so the simplification that's kind of helpful for me is allows me to think through what is the end-to-end. And so I am going to say the same thing that was said yesterday, which is there's a whole brand new class of software coming out, which is customer experience management. This CXM category, it's a real thing. Okay? And we at Microsoft are 100% behind the idea that there's a CXM industry being created. And that is incredibly exciting. And there's going to be a set of connected clouds, and then the stack that sits on top of that for me today is relatively simple, which is I've got Adobe, which is a huge partner in the advertising space. Dynamics, obviously from a sales automation onward standpoint. Sprinklr works really heavily for us at both the anonymous and customer care stages. And then LinkedIn is a company that recently joined our fold and is going to be a pretty exciting part of sales automation. Underlying the planning stuff is just Office 365, using things like Planner and Project, and then SQL backs up the BI and reporting stack. That's it. This is my dashboard. And if you want to, I'm happy to demo it for you. So we actually do demos all the time. I actually go into the real dashboard. But my dashboard's a Power BI dashboard that draws from different systems and allows me to see end to end. So as a CMO, the only way for me to say I'm going to take a revenue commitment is that I know that I've got enough control over the different stages of what's happening in the nurture cycle that I can actually modify it so that it works. If I don't have that control, I don't want to take a quota. Sellers take quotas because sellers believe that they control the outcome of the sales pitch. Marketers hate taking quotas because they feel like they don't have control. This gives us control. The other thing that was really important was to build KPIs at every stage. And this deck is downloadable, so you'll be able to get a hold of it because there's a lot on this. But setting the KPIs was really critical. And getting a really simple set of KPIs that we need to hit at each stage helps us know how we're doing at each stage. And that was, for me, somewhat revolutionary. The other thing you'll see as I kind of go through this is you'll see this little customer ID moving along. The concept of a common customer ID is critical. I'm going to tackle that in about 3 minutes, but don't forget that. That's a really important part of this. These are all commerce services that sit on Azure, and then the Service Cloud. So where are we going? All right, what's the future look like? So, you know, I'm pretty excited about the future of marketing because the future of marketing is something where AI and you know, the multi-core computing and natural interfaces that we're developing are going to have a huge role to play. I do believe it's really a golden age we're in. And so I'm coming back to customer ID. So the thing that we have not done very well as an industry is create a common customer ID structure. Every single system we have has a different ID system. And Raji yesterday used the example of ERP, which is a great example. I love that. I steal that and liberally use it all the time and never credit him. And I'm just kidding. I credit him all the time. And so what we look at common customer ID in sort of an ERP system, the challenge with the way ERP systems do it is they do it as vendor lock. Right? So once you make a commitment to SAP, you're kind of SAP vendor locked. Vendor lock it sounds like a great idea as a vendor. The only problem is that it's a bit of a hindrance to innovation because clients don't like vendor lock. Clients don't want to be stuck in a vendor lock situation. And so I think we should try as an industry to normalize around a customer ID system that all systems should use. And so, okay, that's one person clapping. But you get the free car. There you go. All right. See? It just takes a little enthusiasm. And one of the things that's in here is the DUNS number, Dun and Bradstreet. There are 150 million companies with a DUNS number. We can normalize on that really easily. You pass through Dun and Bradstreet in 85 milliseconds. You can append 12 pieces of data in the DUNS number, and plus other stuff as well. We can actually create a really interesting normalized system around a single customer ID. So that is something that we're kind of excited about. So AI. So what does AI really mean? You know, this is like, I want to land a bit of a transformative thought on you. As marketers, and you have to really go with me for a second here. Okay, so as marketers, we typically think about what to do with someone based on their marketing interactions with us, right? They click on an email, they download a white paper, they read an ebook. Right? That's what we react to as marketers, right? But that really is not a great reflection of that person's purchase intent. Because there's other things. Do they own stock in my company? Are they a member of Xbox Live? Would be something I'd want to know. What have they done before? What is the totality of the person? And the thing that AI can give us is that total view. So this is a real project inside Microsoft called Deep CRM. Bill reviews it every week, so it's a major focus for us. And really, it's basically taking all the elements and turning that into an interaction cloud. And with that interaction cloud, we're using chatbots as a way of interacting with that data to have a much more complete view of the person that we're selling to or working with. It's, for me, I think one of the coolest things that's happening, and it's going to totally change the way we work. So let me I've still got, about 15 minutes or so. I'm just going to kind of wrap up now with sort of a little bit of what we do with Sprinklr, and just give you kind of a little bit of a sense of how we use it, to kind of create a very strong stimulus response model. And so let me go a little bit. This is our social command center with our smiling young millennials. We manage most of the company's brands in the social command center and a very high interaction rate. As far as we know, we're the biggest social command center in the world, period. So, and we are Sprinklr's first customer, and we've grown with Sprinklr through that process. And there are 5 things in our social command center that are really important. One is obviously Sprinklr, but you also have to have collaboration tools, so we use Office. We like Office for a couple reasons. It's awesome, fantastic, great, world-class software, I hear. That's what I've been told. And it's free for us, so we like that as well. Then we also created a lot of rules. The rules have actually taken us years to create. We actually hand these out. So if you want to know how we run the center, the rules that we have around it, let me know. Happy to send it out and share it. So that's something that we're very public with. We create content, so we have a content studio right inside the social command center, actually a creative team right inside there. And then we have BI and reporting running on Power BI and SQL. This is a little bit of a sense of kind of what we do. We've got sort of, this is our listening dashboard. This is what we do for engagement, very standard Sprinklr interface. We haven't customized this the way Nike has, which is beautiful. We were the first users of the paid module, so we centralized all paid through Sprinklr. That's been a fantastic way of knowing how to optimize the advertising that we're doing. And then this is the Power BI reporting that we do, which we actually created with Microsoft Research, and they kind of worked that into the social command center. And so we have basically sort of 2 models of interaction. So we have sort of reactive and proactive interaction. I want to just quickly describe how that works. So on the reactive side, which is actually quite interesting, we filter 150 million messages a year. 150 million messages we see. And then we put that through an Azure machine learning layer and cut that down to about 12 million. Because there's stuff that we'll pick up in our keywords, like the word Office and the word Windows. Amazingly, people aren't always just talking about our products when they use the words Office and Windows. I don't know, who would think, right? Sometimes people want to clean the windows in their office, and they're not talking about us. So we clean all that out, and that goes into a central triage center in Costa Rica, and then about 5 million messages make it into the Bellevue Social Command Center, which is near Redmond. Those get distributed through the company. And this is the key thing here, right? We have 4,000 licenses. We're distributing this through the company. Customer service, engineering, marketing, product, all these different groups are interacting. We brought the customer into the company, and then we directly respond to about 500,000 messages. Now, the direct responses for me are really interesting. I'll show you some examples in a second, because they are a classic example of stimulus response. On the proactive side, we use the paid module. A bunch of different teams go through that, and about 10 billion impressions were generated in the last year on that, and that's continuing to ramp up. I suspect that within a few years, almost 100% of our advertising will be social. So let me spend a few minutes on reactive. So reactive has got sort of 4 core components. Support, a lot of the support questions we can actually handle in the social command center. Just right-click to add to dictionary. On prospects, we're looking to people who want to be brought into marketing automation. We take fans and amplify their fandom, make them love us even more. And then for detractors, we can often solve a problem that they have and turn them back into a fan. And here's some examples of the type of little reactive ads we do. You'll notice they're sent to an individual. They've got pictures that are relevant to that individual. They are all custom one-off, done in about 30 minutes. The retweet rate on these is 100%. 100% retweet rate. And it's amazing what you can sometimes get out of it. There's a band called 5 Seconds of Summer. 5 Seconds of Summer fans? 5 Seconds of Summer fans? Jeez. Holy smokes. I just found out the age of this team here. And it's a cool band. And one of the lead guitarists tweeted, where are these people coming from? Is it tweeted, hey, missed my Xbox. So we very quickly turned around an ad saying, kind of used lyrics from the songs, picture of him, and tweeted this back to him. Reached 65 million people. Because he retweeted it. And you can see very powerful amount of interaction there. Because we sent out a stimulus to generate a response. That's the core component of stimulus response. And a lot of people say, oh my gosh, I would be afraid to do that. What if I make a mistake? Well, what is the worst thing that can possibly happen if you make a mistake? You get fired. Who cares? We're in the golden age of marketing. Get a job like that somewhere else. You got to make some mistakes. You can't be afraid to be fired, right? But look at this. What happens if this happens? What happens if this happens? It's great, right? Another one that was kind of a fun one for us is we someone who we don't know, Dave Hinkle, posted a picture of two people at the E3 conference, the big gaming conference, E3. And we saw this, and we thought, well, I don't know, I'm not sure they're a couple or not, just from the way they're standing, but let's make them a couple. Okay, tons of interaction, great stimulus, right? If these two can make it work, there's hope for us all. And then it got picked up, which is like Game Zone said, Microsoft approves of inter-console relationship, which just sounds just dirty enough to be interesting without being particularly dirty. Anyway, again, lots of interaction, right? We get a lot of stimulus was sent out, response happens. This is someone whose username is emo Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren, of course, a character in one of the Force Awakens, the new Star Wars movie from last Christmas. And he's basically, hey, Kylo Ren is always underlined in red. How do I get rid of that? This is a basic customer support question, right? Right-click, add to dictionary, which we could have done. And we kind of did do that. We did say that. But we decided to jazz it up a bit. And we added, just kind of made it like kind of themed and said, hey, at least on the dark side, the color matches your saber. Because Kylo Ren has a red lightsaber. Okay. Why are all the Star Wars fans at the bar at the back? What is that? That is interesting. Again, stimulus response. Okay, lots of reach. People really loved it. On the proactive side, we've got tons of impressions going out, and you'll notice the ads, and I'll kind of run through those in a second. The ads are very much stimulus response related, and so we're doing things that are evergreen. So we'll have like Server Tuesdays, which may not be the most exciting Tuesday, but events. We talk about events all the time. What's coming up? We have amplification of ad campaigns that we're doing, often for events and other things, and then of course offers, special offers that we have. We put those out through there as well. And these are just some examples. I go concatenate. That's like my favorite one there. Because that's very much stimulus response kind of ad, right? Because you have to fill it in. You have to take the cat and turn it into a word. I assume you all did that. And so these are these, you see these ads, they're like sort of asking questions. They're sort of stimulating with images. They're meant to sort of cause a response. And that is what, for me, is the most exciting thing about the world we live in today, is that we're finally in a world where we're actually capable of having real conversations. And the warning is that if you don't have a real conversation with people, #United, you're going to get a very negative response. You have to be human. And the one thing about our social command center is it's all humans. I'm not using robots. And if you use a robot, people are going to smell it. They're not going to like it. People like to talk to people. Anyway, so to be continued. You can connect with me. I love DM on Twitter is excellent way to get a hold of me. I do have a blog, so you can always kind of read my stuff there. Anyway, thank you very much. You're an awesome audience. A really fun content.